Listen, I know those rumours of Enzo Fernandez have obviously got a little bit stronger. So there's still a chance that obviously he can stay. But there's no denying the chance and likelihood of him going City has definitely gone up in recent time. But I think whether it's Enzo Fernandez if he stays, or it's someone like Adam Wharton, for example, who I know we seem to be heavily linked to, everything I'm going to mention is still relevant. So just imagine it's Wharton or any kind of player who with perceived OOP issues, obviously when you watch this video. But yeah, man, part 2 like promised. Enjoy. If anything, Enzo's, I don't know, ability to add value in possession and kind of slow things down and be hopefully that maestro is what the team is lacking if you're watching preseason. When you watch preseason, that's kind of what we're now missing. We're missing that passer that wants to get on the ball non-stop, that has that passing range, that makes the right key passes and do all of those things. And whether you like Enzo or not, the stats even speak for itself. If your eyes won't let you see it, because I know some people got some mad agenda against this guy. Oh, can he still pass? Can he still do this? I'll say this from now. Enzo isn't the guy that he was in 22-23. He's not as silky as he was there. Since Publajia, for me, I agree. He's not as silky as he was when he first came. I'll admit that. In the same breath, you're doing a lot if you're pretending like Enzo is Pochettino Enzo, or even the first bits of Maresca's first season, where Publajia Enzo's still recovering and he's tripping over himself non-stop, can barely pass the ball. Because there was a little error like that, where even I was like, rah, Enzo's moving mad. Those days are long gone too. If we're going to be honest, I would say Enzo is about 80% of who he was in 22-23. He's not as silky, but he's about 80%. You still see him do some silky stuff here and there. He can hold his own much better. But for whatever he's lost in that silkiness, he has now compensated by becoming much more of a decisive midfield player. Whether that be GA, whether that be key passes, whether that be direct assists, whether that just be affecting the game, the scoreline. And we got to remember, when Enzo first came in, a lot of people criticized him for that. A lot of people criticized him for that. Oh, yeah, he did this thing. I paid 100 million for him. Oh, he's not getting enough GA. He's not impacting the game enough. Yeah, we didn't buy him just for some fancy passes. This is Chelsea, blah, blah, blah. Then we went to the other end where now all he's doing is box crashing and GA. And I agree. I don't love that either. What you're seeing from Enzo now, and I think the only thing that will change now is if Enzo gets used deep, people will start to see the transition. Because I just feel like maybe people are still stuck in how Enzo was like 18 months ago. The guy's kind of like a middle ground of everything. The guy's kind of like I said, he's much silkier than he was some 12 months ago. And like you said, he's got the GA now. He's more impactful. He's someone that wants to decide games. He's used to that limelight. You even saw, listen, whether you want to, against England, he wasn't playing higher up necessarily. There were moments he was, but for the most part, he kept dropping deep and he was trying to get touches deep and etc. And you still saw him trying to affect the game with long shots. If it's not box crashing, it's long shots. If it's not that, he's trying to create a killer pass. It's a mentality thing with Enzo. Right now, and it helps when I think you get that limelight and you score goals and you get used to being a match winner. You want to decide games. You want to be decisive. And for me, that actually excites me. That makes me look at Enzo and think, raw, this guy now playing deep. Obviously, I think Enzo, if he's playing deep, he needs to have that luxury to get forward. And what's been fun, we've seen Alonso'S structure kind of be fluid. So we've seen moments when there's even just a lone pivot here. We've even seen moments where someone like Lavia comes into the CB position to help build up, and unironically, Enzo's done that a lot. We've seen Enzo drop into centre-back areas for Argentina or forever, for Chelsea even many times, even when he's playing as a 10 or whatever. So for me, there's a lot of fluidity and license. So I can imagine Enzo having moments where he's going to be able to get forward here and there. But for the most part, obviously, Enzo and Caicedo are going to be close together. And that's as it should be. That's literally as it should be. And I think, like I said, this is a guy that can be decisive. If you think about just the left-hand side now, because we're going to get back to that now as well, think about what we've added to Enzo and what we didn't have before. In Palestra, you have added one of the best in-behind runners. Bear in mind, we didn't really have a runner last season, or a proper one. Garnacho was meant to be that, but he wasn't physical enough or athletic enough to really cause damage for the other back line. Palestra, as we've seen, is a nightmare to defend. He's going to make that run all game. 90 minutes, no stop. Someone called him the Kante win back shot. Raz, I think someone said that on X. Listen, this guy non-stop is just going to keep getting up and down. If you are talking about anyone in the world of football, you want to be playing those passes to him, you cannot deny Enzo is one of the guys you want. And something that Enzo's really good at that people don't talk about, Enzo will get the ball on the halfway line in difficult areas. He'll shield the ball and still find a way to play these difficult passes in behind. He's very good at that. Like, there's times he'll even play the pass and he's on the way down, he's falling down. Or he's getting pushed, he's getting barged. He's really good at shielding the ball, being in tough spots, and still picking out these dangerous passes off both feet. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, Enzo's not had this out ball before.
If you give Enzo this outball, he's someone that's going to be able to find that outball non-stop. So that's a massive perk for Enzo immediately. That's going to enhance his game. You've heard a lot of people talk about Jackson kind of being a runner for Palmer or Palmer needs runners. Enzo needs runners too. And I think having one obviously on the left-hand side next to him that's always there is huge. Then when you talk about passes, everybody talks about needing runners as a passer. But something that people don't talk about for line breakers, Colwill, Caicedo, Enzo, you need receivers. And what Chelsea finally have now in Rodgers and Palmer is two high-level receivers. You've got two 10s who are smart, who are going to adjust, who are going to make loads of smart movements to pick up the ball in these dangerous zones. And you are now giving Enzo that option. And Enzo has not had that option probably since he arrived to Chelsea. I don't think he's ever, for a consistent amount of time, whenever he's played deep. Caicedo too, or all of our teams, had two 10 players in the pockets that generally want to receive. We had Gallagher, who wasn't technical before, and Kunku didn't really manage to play much, so he didn't really get to play. Then Enzo's obviously had to play that role himself. So really and truly, this is the first time we're going to have two proper pocket players, let alone João Pedro that can obviously receive, or even if that's Jackson, if he stays, can receive. You're giving Enzo all of that as well. Let alone the ability to have a player like Esteval and Palmer or etc. Guys that you trust to actually make shit happen, to switch to non-stop. So what I'm telling you and basically trying to say is, this is not the team that we've seen before where Enzo's in this 10 position. He's got Garnacho next to him, he's got Cucurella, and he's got some stale mid support. Not only would Enzo be deeper, he has got options. This team in many ways is now built for him. It's built for him because you got an outlet there. It's built for him because you got two between line players and a good receiver here. Built for him because there's a guy that you trust, a good 1v1 player on the right, ready for the switch. It's built for him because you've got a fast CCB behind, ready to sweep things up, so things are not going to be as panicky in these transition moments. And then whether it's Hato, Colwill, James, Josh, their backline is just more physical as well. Then, of course, like I said, when it comes to Alonso, you finally are going to be able to play these guys close, like we saw with Caicedo, McAllister, under the Zerbi, and just other possession teams. So for me, I'm going to be real with you, like, there will never be better conditions for Enzo to kind of make shit happen. I'll be honest. There will never be better conditions. These are the conditions you want. If Enzo's going to succeed at Chelsea, this is the dynamics and how you would want it to be. As physical as possible, we've included the physical baseline. He's got between the line receivers. He's got a runner on his side. He's even got someone like Esteval that'll probably make runs on that side. We've seen Esteval be smart with that. You got João Pedro or Jackson. Hopefully, if Jackson stays, as great number 9s that can receive as well and want to run in and score. You've got everything. You've got Caicedo next to you to combine with. Now, this is one thing I will talk about because we have been positive. But let's get into some negatives as well. For me, my one concern with Enzo Fernandez, where I do agree with some people, is about the press resistance. For me, Enzo in highly, when teams really press us or we come up against physical opponents, Enzo Fernandez, and I think not playing in this position really for a sustained amount of time has affected him and not allowed him to develop ways to be press resistant. Because I think one of the ways you just get press resistant in this league is through time, through just the wear and tear, going through the up and down process. We saw it with Jorginho. There were often moments where it looked like Jorginho wasn't press resistant. Eventually, when we got to the moment under Tuchel, you couldn't get the ball off Jorginho. Now, a big part of that is having options nearby all the time, having options in close proximity to hit all the time. I think that is where Alonso is a helpful coach for Enzo. Where, again, I say, if he is ever going to play deep, it helps that Caicedo's always going to be there for you to be used. It helps that you're going to have this outball, you're going to have this. And it just helps that the whole team, hopefully, is going to want to be close. I don't think we've seen it as much as I wanted to see it in preseason yet, but that should hopefully be the hope. Now, when it comes to just Enzo for me and what he can do himself, something I will say that is a criticism of mine with Enzo, I feel like sometimes he's a bit too individualistic. Enzo, I still feel needs development when it comes to just combining. I'll give you a perfect example. Andre Santos for me would be the guy that Enzo should be looking to when it comes to just trying to be press resistant in deeper areas. Obviously, Enzo's going to do the ball rolls, he's going to shield, he's going to do what he can. Enzo's not someone you're going to get the ball off super easy. But there are going to be times where that's not going to cut it. And at the end of the day, you muck around, you're going to get pressed. And if you lose the ball in dangerous areas, it's one thing losing it here, you lose it here and we're in massive trouble. This is for me where Alonso's going to need to get coaching and get Enzo to kind of do what Andre Santos did. Use Caicedo. Caicedo's one of the best players in the world when it comes to 1-2s, interacting. He's like almost the defensive midfield version of how Jackson is further up the pitch. Jackson can interact with anybody. Jackson's going to make anybody look 1-2s, make it look like everything's good. That's something that Jackson, credit to him, is amazing at. Caicedo like that, for me, is almost the midfield version of that. If you are willing to combine, you've seen it with Lavia, seen it with Santos, even Nicole Jazuli came in. They're doing all sorts of combinations. Enzo, for me, is a very individualistic player that likes to almost make solutions for himself. He's always trying to make something happen, and I think he needs to learn how to rely and combine with Caicedo. That is the part of the game for me where I would say he's lacking a little bit. I don't really see Enzo and Caicedo interact. Now, listen, we've never really seen them be using a double pivot that much. But for the little moments that we have, again, I usually still see Enzo almost trying to be too proactive and try and take the game to opposition. And that might be because he's got so used to being an attacking 8 that he's always trying to get forward and make things happen. I think we need the Enzo that we got when he first signed again. If you remember when Enzo first signed, the temperament was a little bit calm. All the up and down running, etc., that's going to need to calm down and chill a little bit, in my opinion. We're going to need Enzo to relax. We're going to need Enzo to get that killer temperament again, be calm, composed. And I think Alonso's style is going to help that. Under Maresca, and you think about the man-to-man pressing non-stop, you think about him playing box-to-box 10, I think it just made him be in a zone where he's always trying his best. He always has to give 110% just to do the basics of the role he was trying to do. If you put him in this position now, things hopefully can be a little bit more calm. Things can be a bit more relaxed. Enzo can be a bit more composed, because that's what I loved about him when we first signed him. I think now there's an opportunity for everything to kind of come together and be perfect as one. So for me, like I said, I think that is the one area I would say he needs to improve in. Now, obviously, another one, defensively, out of possession, he cannot afford to break structure and just start pressing like a madman. But this, for me, are things that I feel like because Alonso's out of possession structure is just more organized. I feel like, yes, Enzo has bad habits when it comes to that, but a lot of these things are things that can probably be solved and helped with coaching. If you think about Maresca's man-to-man pressing, or you think about Rosina's man-to-man pressing, it was chaotic. It was messy. It lended to a player being wild and crazy and trying to do that. I don't think Alonso's structure is like that. Alonso's very methodical. He wants players in certain places. I don't think Enzo's going to be able to do all of that. And I think, like I said, it just all comes down to coaching. Alonso's just simply going to have to tell Enzo, you cannot do that. You're not allowed. And we know Enzo's capable because Enzo's played 6. Enzo literally played 6 for Argentina. Enzo literally played 6 when he first came here. Enzo played deeper in Benfica. So he is a guy that we know can be a bit more disciplined. It's on Alonso to do that. And I feel like if there's any coach that will, it is Alonso that will do that. Because bear in mind, like I said, people don't remember, Xhaka was an attacking 8 for Arsenal just before Alonso bought him. Alonso then brought him back to being a DLP. And Xhaka's gone to another level. I think Xhaka was already an amazing DLP anyway, but he's gone to another level. So for me, I'm not saying Enzo's going to be Toni Kroos and literally the most silky, crazy guy ever. I definitely think we're going to see much more of that. And I think he can bring 80 to 90% of that. But I think Enzo's just going to be a special all-action midfielder that we haven't really quite seen. And if I could actually make a comparison, maybe Fabregas 14-15 under Mourinho when he kind of played deep next to Matic comes to mind. Maybe Lampard in his latter years, 12-13, where Lampard would kind of get deep in the box sometimes and arrive from deep, comes to mind. I think where it's fun for Enzo is that Alonso wants to be flexible. You've already seen Palmer from these areas drop deep, etc., and do all of that. Alonso wants to be flexible. So for me, this is where it's fun for Enzo. This is where there will be moments and ability to kind of interlink. Can someone like Rodgers drop deep? We did see Rodgers kind of get used in a double pivot for Tuchel against France. Can there be moments where Rodgers drops deep and fills in for him? Can there be moments where it's Chavaria comes into inside zones? Listen, I'll talk about that another day. But listen, I just think there's a lot of fluidity. There's a lot to happen. I think, if I'm being honest, if Enzo can make this role work, and I think for me, like I said, if it's ever going to work for him at Chelsea, everything is now there for him. In every season before this, I've always looked at it and thought, this isn't right, this isn't perfect, blah, blah, blah. For the first time, I'm like, yo, everything is there for Enzo if he wants it. So for me, it's on him. It's on him. And I think if he stays, everything is set up for this guy to have a special season. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. And when you just look at this team, look at this. Because like I said, Chelsea, and I'm going to move Esteval for a second. Yeah. If you defend in that 5-2-3, I think that also obviously helps Enzo. 1, because you've got 3 centre-backs behind you. And 2, because naturally it's just a bit more compact. The gaps here are less. then obviously if you've got Enzo on that and a 4-4-2 is a bit more open, there's just less space to deal with. So I think that will obviously help whenever we're playing a 5-3 if you do want to use Enzo. But even, and I'm going to move this now, I'm going to say Esteval, because I do think there'll be moments we defend in a 4-4-2 as well, like I said. Even if we defend in a 4-4-2, and, okay, let's move that there. Blah, 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 blah. 1 second. Cool. Even if we defend in a 4-4-2, and for me, I'd probably put Chavaria there. If we are defending in a 4-4-2 or using that 4-2-3 more clearly, I'd use Chavaria. Then I think there you can kind of defend in a 4-4-2. And Chelsea have done this anyway under Maresca. When Chelsea used to defend in a 4-4-2, Enzo, even if he was a part of the front five, this is how he would have to defend. He'd have to be part of the 4-4-2 as well. So for me, it's nothing to be concerned about. But what I would say is that whenever Chelsea defend in a 4-4-2, it should be against the lesser teams we're looking to dominate. And I'm sorry to say, when you look at the attacking quality we have on the pitch, Esteval, Parmesan, Pedro, Rogers, Enzo, even someone like Chavaria, James, whatever, bro, we should be looking to blow teams away. OOP should be at the backseat. If you want to do the OOP stuff, dominate the ball, control the ball, keep gaps small, make sure the counter pressure's on point, control the game. It's just like City and that. You don't see City going into games when they used to have Fernandinho and David Silva and De Bruyne worried about going the other way. You don't see PSG thinking, oh my God, Vitinha Neves is a bit too lightweight. We're here to take the game to you. Or even Bayern Munich when they got Kimmich and Pavlovic. We're here to take the game to you. So if this is how we're setting up, bro, we should be looking to blow teams out the water. Do you know the attacking quality that we have on the pitch? It's crazy that Chelsea fans even obsessed over OOP too much sometimes. For me, bro, attacking quality that we have on the pitch, we should be blowing certain teams away. And I think now that Enzo's not in the 10, because like I said, that kind of made the dynamics not as smooth as I'd want them to be. I see potential for that 110%. So that's one thing. And then obviously, like I said, in the 5-2-3, I think if you're on a big game and you want to start Enzo, that's safer anyway. But going back to things, what I would say is the actual need and move of the season if Enzo does stay. And I'll leave Chavaria there, whatever. I can't be bothered to change it back to Palestra. What I would say is, I'll put Palestra actually, let's put in the FA, just in case someone randomly sees it. What I would say is, if Enzo does stay, Chelsea should buy another midfielder. We should buy another midfielder. Because for me, what will move the needle this season, and I do think even if Enzo stays, there will be games against Newcastle, against Sunderland, Everton away, certain Big Six games, where as good as Enzo is, obviously we can do the 5-2-3 thing, and I think Enzo could actually cope in that scenario in truth. But, sorry about that, but there will be moments where you are probably just going to want a player more suited to the physical nature of that game. And that's where you maybe want a Lavia, but obviously Lavia's not reliable. This is where, for me, if you are to get Alex Scott, if you are to get, obviously people heard me talk about someone like Nico Gonzalez, where he's probably going to stay, Chema Andres, some people like, this is where you want that alternative to Enzo. And for me, that is what we have to make sure we do if we do get Enzo. Like I said, the squad is built for him in many ways now. That's the final part. The final part is making sure you get an alternative for them games, so we don't have to use Enzo and people start crying and saying, oh my God, this and that. If you're a smart squad, just have an alternative for them moments. Lavia obviously would be the one, but obviously he's not reliable, so get another person. Get a Santos replacement. Don't let up, because the midfield is so important, so we should absolutely handle that and make sure that's sorted. And then obviously, even in general, something I want, let's just say we start Palestra in this game, yeah, we go super attacking. Like I said, we kind of use that 4-4-2 dynamic, and we're trying to be super attacking, yeah. Like, we're just trying to kill a team with Esteval, etc., defending in the 4-4-2 possession. Something that I think we should get a defensive midfielder for as well. I don't know if you lot remember the dynamics under Real Madrid with Ozil. 70 minutes, Ozil used to come off every game. After Ozil's done what he's supposed to do, created the chances for Ronaldo, blah, 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 killed the game off, it's 3-0. Mourinho was like, yo, Ozil will come off, let's seal this game. Even Mourinho used to do it at Chelsea. You bring on Mikel, we all knew what time it was. Chelsea need a midfielder like that for me. If Enzo and Caicedo come on and they violate and they set pace and now we're winning 3-0 and we've blown the team away, when it gets to 70 minutes, don't do what Chelsea did a lot last season, where we'd be 2-0 up and then in 10-15 minutes we just throw the game away. That has to change, and that's for me again why a defensive midfielder is so important. You get a defensive midfielder, you can take Enzo off at 70, 75. It can almost become as synonymous as that Kovacic-Barkley substitution at 60 minutes all the time to Sarri. I want it to be a situation where at 70 minutes, Guys know what time it is. Whether this is Enzo, Wharton, or whoever, guys know what time it is. 70 minutes, take him off, game sealed, game done, game set match, like I said. That is what Chelsea should be thinking. And if we approach things in that way, I think we can be a deadly, deadly team. So for me, yes, are there little concerns with Enzo? Absolutely. But I just feel like this. And this is how I round it off. If this is ever going to work, if Enzo Fernandez is ever going to work at Chelsea, the dynamics are now perfect for him to do so. It's never been like this before. I want to make that clear. For the last 2 years, he's had Cucurella, Sancho, Garnacho on his side. Before that, he had Pochettino. The coach wasn't good for him. 3 years of hell. Under Potter, the guy was being used as a 6 and Potter was just a mess. We finally have an elite manager. We finally have the perfect partner for him, Caicedo. The back line is more physical. We have an outlet on the other side with mad athleticism on the left-hand side, him and Rodgers, to add to Enzo, which we never had before. We've got the attackers. We've got 2 in-between line 10s for him to find. Outlets, runners, whatever you want to call it. We've got it all. We got the coach. We got the close proximity. It's all there for him. I'm not going to lie to you. If Enzo stays, there is a big chance we see the Enzo Fernandez we paid 105 million for. And that's what excites me. There's a part of me that just feels that it's almost a fairy tale. Where Enzo, after all the talk, after all the doubt, maybe even ends up being arguably our most important player. If you think about the influence Xhaka had for Leverkusen, Enzo could easily be that for Alonso. And there's a big possibility of that. So I know I'm a guy that always wanted to see him the double pivot anyway. I know some people might disagree. For me, I think there's a big chance Enzo could have a special, special season if he stays. But obviously it's up to him if he stays. If he goes, listen, switch in Wharton and we can pretty much do everything that I was saying before this. The good thing about whether Enzo leaves, if you bring in someone like a Wharton, he's got Rodgers and Palmer who are there to score the goals. So I don't think the goals will be as missed. Rodgers can kind of replace the GA that Enzo got from this left half space. So for me, I don't need the GA as much from deep. If Enzo does that and he wants to bring that, that's even going to be nicer. But that ain't my main priority. I need Enzo to be midfielding and to get back in his bag with that. And that's what I want to see. And then obviously the GA on top of that is what's going to make Enzo special. But someone like Wharton for me could easily do the job. And then obviously there's guys talking about Alex Scott. For me, I prefer Alex Scott as more of like a Andre Santos. But even if we did Alex Scott, it probably would make us a bit more balanced defensively at least. Even for whatever we lose, because Alex Scott hasn't got the passing bag of a Wharton or Enzo, which for me is a bit problematic. But I think he would almost be like a Vitinha Neves partnership. The fluidity and the 1-2s between and Scott and Caicedo would be beautiful. But for me, listen, let's see if Enzo stays. I think if Enzo stays, we can have a... Like, if Enzo stays, I need you lot to know he's been a pillar in us getting to winning the Club World Cup, in us doing what we've done. All the positives that we've done, beating Barcelona 3-0, he's been a massive part of those games, whether we like it or not. For me, Enzo stays and you start talking about with 1 game a week, with the squad I'm looking at here, doing some serious shit. And I ain't going to talk too soon, but anyone that's wise knows what I've been hitting about on X for a long time. Even when we was in the trenches with Rosini and all of that, I always anticipated this being a big season for us. So, listen, that's my answer. Obviously, everyone's going to have their answers as well. Let me know in the comments, am I bugging? Do you think we should just sell Enzo Fernandez and get over it? Do you think it won't work at all? Do you think there's things I'm maybe neglecting, etc.? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to obviously like, comment, and subscribe. All of that helps me massively as well. And yeah, man, you lot, bless up.